Welcome to the IllumiNewsroom. Last week, I was radio silent because I was on vacation in Gay Paris. But now I'm back home, and there were a surprising number of reveals while I was away. Let's get into them. Firstly, we saw the full versions of Bucky, Squirrel Squeak Tutor, Minnie, Wide-Eyed Diver, and Robin Hood capable fighters, so we now know their stats and lore. Nothing too surprising here. Bucky is very vulnerable despite his ward, Wide-Eyed Diver will be great to shift onto Always Classy, and Capable Fighter is nice to have as redundancy with Han's 13th in line. Apart from these, we got our first new Amber card in a while, Last Stand, a 2-ink uninkable action that banishes an opposing character that was challenged this turn. This is the hardest removal we've seen so far for Amber, and should pair well with small characters with good on-play abilities like Lord of the Underworld, or that you want to banish anyway, like Gramatala. Mr. Smee could also work given his low cost and high willpower. For Amethyst, we got Merlin Rabbit, a 2/3/1 lore for 4, uninkable, with when you play him or he leaves play, draw a card. This is pretty solid. If this were inkable, it would be utterly broken, so it's understandable why it's not. As it is, it still slots very well into any Amethyst deck, but it seems to be part of a new archetype for Rise of the Floodborn based around returning your own characters to hand, with Merlin Shapeshifter as the payoff. To further that archetype, we get Madame Mim Fox, a 4/3/1 lore for 3 with Rush, and when you play her, either banish her or bounce one of your characters. Her stat line is better than Rafiki, and she's inkable, and there are plenty of characters you'd want to play again anyway, like Maleficent Sorceress or Spirit of Winter. Hell, you could play Rafiki, challenge with him, then play Foxmim, returning Rafiki to hand and challenge with her, and if you have at least 9 ink, just play Rafiki again and challenge again. There are a lot of possibilities with this card. An Emerald Beast Relentless was revealed when Steve Warner played him in a deck at Essen, which is kind of wild. This beast is a 4/5/2 lore for 6 with when an opposing character is damaged, ready him. This is utterly wild and could easily be the win condition for an Emerald Steel deck. Every time you challenge, he readies. Every time you play Fire the Cannons, he readies. This is a better version of what Ariel Who's It Collector was trying to do. Next is Panic Underworld Imp, a 2/3/2 lore for 3, uninkable, with when you play him, give another character +2 strength, or if it's pain, +4. This is basically a better version of Megara, which is why he isn't inkable. You get a much better body, but until we see what pain does, hopefully he's a 2-cost so you can play them on curve, we won't know the true value of this card. Lastly, an Emerald is Improvise, a 1-cost inkable action that gives a character +1 strength to the turn and draws a card. It's good to see these cantrips coming to Emerald. The main weakness to the balance of the first chapter is how much card draw is concentrated in Amethyst and Amber, and it's good to see other colors getting more options. This card specifically seems fine. It's inkable, can give a little nudge to win a challenge, and replaces itself. So the main thing here to think about is opportunity cost. What are you not including in your deck in order to have this? Moving to Sapphire, we get Fang Crossbow, a 3-cost item with 2 abilities. Either exert it and pay 2 to reduce a character's strength by 2, or exert it and banish it to banish a dragon. Very flavorful. If you haven't seen Raya already, I can't recommend it enough. I cry like a baby at the end. As for playability, the first one isn't too bad, and it could be an easy choice for Maurice Tamatoa decks, while the second ability is going to depend on how many dragons we end up getting, because the first chapter only had 1. We know we're getting at least 1 Sisu. Hopefully we also get a Madame Mim and a Mushu. Last but not least, in Steel we have Mouse Armor, which is probably the deepest cut this game has ever done. It's very briefly in the background of Basil's flat in The Great Mouse Detective, and is so blink or you'll miss it that I hadn't even noticed it despite seeing the movie multiple times. The card itself is a 2-cost uninkable item that exerts to give a character resist +1 until your next turn. This is going to be fantastic for any character that wants to challenge a lot. Giant Fairy, Heroic Outlaw, Imperial Soldier, and the new Beast. It's also nice for any character with an on-quest ability like Hans or John Silver, or an ability while exerted like Mother Gothel or the new Tiana. I think this may become a staple for Steel control decks. And that's it! We're now just over a month away from the LGS release of Rise of the Floodborn, and we've only seen 1/6 of the cards. I would expect reveals to start ramping up, with the set fully revealed by early November.